These two rounds have taken me way too long. It is way too late, and it is almost tip-off time, so I'm going to be cutting it close. But we're going to put round one and round two. We're going to combine them together, one video, two articles, and it'll be above both of them. You'll see, it'll work. We're going to do men's, women's, then our pool. Let's hit it. On the men's side, about this time last year, I think I said something along the lines of not super madness, but still entertaining. And we kind of have the same thing, but I'm thinking there's a reason why. I mean, even this year, our two 12s that went through, but the McNeese game was tight, but it was more of a who's not going to lose it as quickly. Colorado State, technically by Vegas standards, not an upset. They were actually the favorite, even though they were the 12 seed. They were giving points to Memphis. James probably is aware of this and maybe even took advantage. We had an 11 in Drake. You got a couple 10s, couple 9s. But sometimes I think our bar is now just set that if it's not a 14 seed, if there's not a 15 or a 16 run, then maybe we don't consider it crazy. Maybe it's because the absence of buzzer beaters until we got a little bit later in the tournament. But either way, the games were great. I enjoyed them. I hope you did too, but it's true. The bracket did leave a okay. But this is the year that maybe okay is better than okay because we are top heavy. I did mention parity, and a few of you tried to call me on it. Connor being the most notable, that whole little article, how I might have been wrong there. I'm not going to give away all of my secrets, but I do think there is parity, but you're right, in the middle. Up top, there is a top 5 or 6, possibly up to 10 teams if you really want to be generous. And the plus side is we're going to see most of them play each other this weekend and maybe into the next. So there is a benefit, and maybe the true madness might be the buzzer beaters coming a little bit later. But it does come down to kind of some seeding issues, and I think just the way the tournament's designed, I don't want to get into a massive thing. A lot has already been made about UNC, and we have enough UNC fans here. I don't need to get into that beef. To me, honestly, yes, of course it is corrupt. And honestly, maybe college sports needs to be blown up just a little bit. I mean, we've got now in the Big Ten, there's pretty much twice as many teams. Conferences don't really make as much sense. But just don't take away our madness in our tournament. I mean, it's just one of those things that, this isn't amateur sport and it's not even pretending anymore. So maybe we just need to be a little bit more transparent about who is in that room when they make the pick. I've never been obviously in that caliber of a room, but I have been in rooms where awards or rankings have been decided. And if you have someone in the room who is actively involved, it changes it, even if they leave. So there's no way they can say it didn't. I'm not as mad about that one, though. I'm sure West Virginia is, UNC not as much. I'm more upset. How in the world, in what universe should Gonzaga and Houston be playing in the second round? That makes zero sense to me. And look, the Blue Bloods are going to get all the CBS games on their Saturdays, and we're going to see a ton of Duke, especially when they have a big player. But we don't get to see a lot of Houston or Gonzaga. They kind of need to be on TV a little bit more. And these are programs that actually have in the past made this tournament more interesting, especially Gonzaga, who you could make the argument has changed this tournament more than any other single team just by being that established program that is in the mid-major but has been super competitive, plays a style of basketball that you don't always see, does translate into some NBA success, but has some full-time actual college players as opposed to the one-and-doners, and does it in a really unique way. How do we reward them? We completely screw them over, and everyone recognizes they should not have been in that seed, but no one is going to put up as much of a fuss. In the second round of the guys tournament, we did see a little bit more magic. We did see kind of a back-to-back buzzer beater-ish situation where a great bucket was actually scored a go-ahead 3, then a double travel that actually got through. Sorry, I mean, it's fine that it wasn't called, but maybe I'm just that old school now that pivot foots used to mean something, and I know that 0 step, but that doesn't mean that you can just take as many 0 steps as you want. Fine, no call, it was hit, exciting moment. But the real one to me, I thought, and the funny part was the Pitino versus Calipari, and watching them, they are not good actors. Try to pretend that there's not a rivalry. Pitino acting like he doesn't care what Calipari does. He absolutely does. Calipari acting like it doesn't, he didn't have an entire bar's worth of celebration shots after he took him down. He definitely did. But that's what you got to love about the game. It's the game within the game. And now we're moving on to 16 teams. Most of our top seeds still here, except for the Johnnies. Let's see how that rolls. On the women's side, I get it, and people get upset about the lack of madness. Look, the first couple rounds in the women's tournament, You got to think, go back to the actual 1990s, and this is what the men's tournament felt like. Maybe a few more upsets, but not as many, not as focused. Because remember, there are power teams in the women's game, and they get most of the good players right now. Now, as the young fans develop, there'll be more, and this will change. But also remember, the women's game, they stay for 4 years. So you get teams that have epically longer rivalries, which does mean that the next two rounds are going to be crazy exciting. But it does mean that right now we don't quite have the parity. There isn't the transfer there is the transfer portal. It's not as active. NIL getting involved, but the mid majors have to step up, and that really just takes a little bit more depth. And we don't quite have that yet because they're all going to the big schools. That will change. We don't need to point it out every single year. Now, if you did watch though, one of the most exciting games probably in the tournament so far, the double OT, cementing why you practice free throws on a daily basis, and especially don't just take 2 in a row, take maybe 3 in a row just in case. But unfortunately, the whole women's side is shadowed by poor Juju. Now, if you watched it, not malicious. I'm not in that kind of business to yell for no particular reason like some people get paid to. Yes, Juju was hurt beforehand, not in the knee, but ankle, hands, whatever. It was what it was. It's fluke. She's going at a quicker speed. She's trying to cut through 2 defenders like she has all year. And it's just super unfortunate. But it's super unfortunate for just like 5 different levels. Obviously for her, you hope she comes back. She's supposed to be the future of the game, or at least one of the like 10 people that they're touting for future of the game right now, on pace to beat Caitlin's record. No more. That's out. I mean, that's one of the things we often forget. It's not just that you score, it's that you stay healthy for while you're there in the entire stretch. But the real kind of irony, not that Caitlin Clark tried to compliment her and then called her, she'll get back here, she's a tough kid. There is a little bit of showmanship of calling someone who was supposed to be your next version a kid. I think that's kind of funny. But realistically, that's not the comparison. The thing that actually burns me as a basketball fan is I was excited as soon as I saw the bracket. I was upset that UConn and USC were on the same side. Those are 2 teams I was looking forward to hopefully taking to the Final Four, because as we saw, they do have a little bit of depth in USC. It wasn't just a one-trick pony. Obviously, the one trick is quite good, but they have some other depth. The UConn, USC, Paige and Juju was by far the most excited I was for any matchup in the single tournament, and now we're not going to get it. But the real irony is this does actually kind of mimic Paige to an extent. If you were new to the sport, she was the player of the nation as a freshman, and then she hurt herself. That's why she is the extra year. She was the same draft class originally as Caitlin Clark, and that's why the whole beef, the UConn coach could have drafted both, chose Paige, thought it was a more complete player. She was a more complete player. She has hurt herself. She's come back, and she's obviously healthy, and she went off in her last home game. But man, that would have been a cool matchup to have. Now, luck would have it, it's a deep pool, and we do have another a set of really good matchups, and we're going to see a lot of the 1s and 2s, the 3s and the 5s. A lot of 4s got bounced, all kind of duking it out in the next 2 rounds, but man, would have been nice. Also, remember with the whole upset thing, most people don't know, if you don't follow the tournament, if you get a top seed, you get 2 home games. So there's a reason why it's even harder to beat the 1, 2, 3, 4. Because they're doing it in their home gym. Change that, a little bit of depth, we'll get more madness. But maybe then the further rounds aren't as good? I don't know, kind of up to taste. On the men's side, it raises a question. Who would you rather be, Raf or Jake? Reason why: Raf is currently leading, doesn't have his champion. Jake, 2nd and 7th. That's a lot of splitting cash. So in this particular case, Raf would tune in, but remember those names when we get over to the women's bracket. Shane was our round 1 leader. I did break down the 1 through 7 because those are our pay points this year, and 1 through 3 for the women. Shane was on top, and then just maybe it looks like the round of 32 got him with a couple more, but the fact that he has his champion left. But this is a big 4-way tie, so technically we also have some ties for division leaders right now. Raf would obviously get the one for Euro-African. Shane and Jake both would split for Asian, and then the child. So 2 children who have had 2 brackets. The first one was in the money. Now they're in 2nd. So apparently whatever these best guesses are, they're pretty dang good because they also are leading the North American pool. But we do have obviously a lot of parity here, close in points, and it really does come down to who you have left. So We do have Ben as the first one out, sorry, and Janelle tied for ninth, and Connor tied for ninth, and then just me because I have to show it. So a lot can happen, and obviously you want to keep your Final Fours and your champion in the dance. So Raf's just hoping for chaos to reign and everyone to lose. Looks like there's a whole lot of dukes, so you're going to have to separate yourself somehow. We'll get to that when we get to the next round. On the women's side, you see a lot of similar names. Jake is now leading this one. Amari's second, another rookie bracket here. Well done there. Felix tied for third, feeling for you because Felix has been for a couple years. This would be in the money. Big deal for that. Also tied with Raf, who's again in the money here, and Rathwell, who you may have recognized from the last page. So we have a lot of repeat offenders on this one. I mean, hey, for me, if it finished like this, aside from the fact that I wouldn't win any money, which sucks, paying people would be a lot easier because I'd be sending it to the same few people. And then obviously stinks Kelly, who was actually close last year as well, or actually, sorry, was a second place last year in a tie, so she was a money winner. Lara's our defending champion. Archer here looking to try and win the Rathwell pool on the women's side, so a lot of people in the hunt. I'm not going to get into too much of the prediction stuff yet, because let's be honest, we're only down to 16, and we're only a few days away from being down to 8. Then we start seeing a little bit more, but once we're down to 4, then we can play the scenarios out. As of right now, you just want to make sure you got your top 4 in, and then you're hoping for the best. Thanks for the speed through on the first 2 rounds. Apologies I wasn't a little bit better on this one. It did take me a little longer, and it takes a chunk out of me, and then I have to catch up on all the work, yada yada. It's fine. I'll send some emails out. We'll get all the cash sorted, all that stuff. I am aiming for a round 3 video end write-up. There is a round 1 and a round 2 write-up that are a little bit shorter, all around the site. If you're seeing this, maybe you're seeing it through the site or you just went onto YouTube. I'm not sure which, but thank you, because by the time you probably listen to this, it is real close to tip off or maybe even past. So I'll be a bit better for round 3, or at least round 3 for the guys, halfway through for the girls, because Saturday works better. We'll see how I can do moving forward. Thank you for the patience. Hopefully you enjoy, and enjoy the Sweet 16.